We're jumping straight into Figma today. Everyone is watching the price action, but the real story is its massive 52% year-to-date drop colliding with explosive revenue growth.
Yeah, I mean, that divergence is just wild. You rarely see a business's underlying metrics accelerating like this, while the stock chart, looks like it completely fell off a cliff.
Right. The psychology here has just been brutal. Up until a few days ago, the stock was trapped in this 11-day losing streak.
Uh-huh. An 11-day bleed is tough to stomach.
Yeah, it wasn't just a slow bleed either. It was a 34% cumulative loss in roughly 2 weeks. Selling pressure like that, it alters the mindset of even the most long-term institutional holders.
Oh, absolutely. People just stop looking at the balance sheet and start hitting the sell button just to stop the pain.
Yeah.
I would argue that is the textbook definition of market capitulation.
Exactly. But then the streak just violently snaps. We saw the stock cap up like 4 to 6% in a single session. And the catalyst wasn't even an earnings release or a product launch.
Wait, really? What triggered it?
A major bank initiated coverage on the company with a really optimistic outlook. And they attached a price target that implies roughly 100% upside from where it's trading right now.
A 100% upside target from a major bank carries serious weight. Think of it like finding a luxury house on sale.
Right, right.
The neighborhood might be temporarily out of favor, but the core question for you as an investor is whether the foundation of the house is actually cracked, or if it's just, a temporary panic pricing it down.
Yeah.
Understanding that disconnect is crucial.
Exactly. You're tuned into the Easy Money Show, where we make sense of the market's biggest moves. I'm glad you're with us.
If this helped you understand the market fastest, subscribe, hit the like button, and comment below the next company you want us to simplify.
And for traders actively watching this kind of extreme chart volatility, you can check out VIP Algos through the link below in the description.
Yeah, it's a really simple chart tool for cleaner TradingView charts. It shows visual buy and sell chart alerts, trend direction, support and resistance zones, target zones, and, take profit and stop loss planning areas.
And it works across stocks, Forex, crypto, gold, indices, futures, and commodities, right?
Yeah, exactly. But keep in mind, this is for educational chart analysis only. It is not financial advice, it does not place trades for you, and it does not guarantee profits.
Always important to remember.
Yeah, trading involves risk, so always do your own research and manage risk carefully. This is an affiliate link, and we may earn a commission at no extra cost to you.
Now, here is the simple bull case.
Let's isolate the business from the stock performance for a second, because the first quarter numbers, they present a completely different reality than the chart.
Oh, totally. Revenue hit $333.4 million, and that represents a 46.1% year-over-year acceleration.
Acceleration being the key word there. Getting a software company to over $300 million in quarterly revenue is hard enough, but re-accelerating the growth rate at that size, that is exceptionally rare.
It really is. Plus, they posted a clear earnings beat. They delivered 10 cents per share against a 6-cent consensus.
Nice beat.
Right. But the detail that truly anchors the bull thesis is the forward guidance. Management actually raised their full-year revenue guidance by $55 million.
In a macro environment where most software companies are crying about, deal cycle elongation and cutting their forecasts, they are confidently raising the bar.
Yeah, and that level of confidence usually comes from extreme product stickiness.
Okay.
We see that quantified in their net dollar retention, which came in at 139%.
139% NDR is just staggering. To simplify this, imagine running a subscription business where not only does nobody ever cancel, but your existing customers voluntarily spend 39% more with you every single year.
Right, they just naturally rely on it more.
Exactly. It shows incredibly deep reliance on the platform. The sales team doesn't even have to acquire a single new logo to grow revenue nearly 40%.
I am curious, though, what is the actual mechanism driving that kind of expansion? Are these companies just hiring more designers?
Not necessarily. It's actually about horizontal expansion. Figma is pushing way beyond the core design team and getting product managers, developers, marketers into the ecosystem.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they're doing this by expanding with new tools, things like Figma Make, Figma Sites, Figma Draw, and Figma Buzz.
Right, let's dissect that a bit. Because just throwing new tools at a wall doesn't mean people will pay for them.
True.
But Figma Make lets users generate design components from text prompts. Sites lets teams deploy designs directly to the web, Draw adds vector stuff, and Buzz handles the deep collaboration.
So it's all about ecosystem lock-in.
Exactly. If a developer can grab code directly from sites, and the marketing team can leave a voice note on Buzz, nobody ever has to leave the platform.
I am struggling to reconcile that with the broader fear around artificial intelligence, though.
Mhm.
Wait, if AI is eventually going to write code for everyone, doesn't that make software tools less valuable?
Yeah, I mean, that is the big existential debate happening right now, but the bullish counterargument is actually fascinating.
Okay, what is it?
As AI commoditizes the coding part, making it almost free to spin up an application design actually becomes the ultimate competitive edge.
Ah, because the tech itself is basically a commodity at that point.
Right. If three startups can launch identical functional apps over the weekend using AI, the only one that survives is the one that looks and interacts infinitely better. Figma is betting that premium design will become more valuable, not less.
I love that. And they are using the Model Context Protocol, right? The MCP,
Yeah, exactly. MCP lets AI models directly access a company's secure internal datasets and design systems.
which is huge for enterprise.
Huge. And the enterprise clients who have adopted it, they are growing their user seats 70% faster than clients who haven't.
Wow, 70% faster. That is wild.
And this fundamental momentum brings us to a really combustible market dynamic. The short float is currently sitting at over 36%.
Okay, for anyone listening, a high short float means a massive amount of traders are actively betting the slug will go down. Think of it like a high-stakes game of musical chairs. As long as the price goes down, short sellers are happy. But if good news like that massive revenue acceleration forces the price up, they start bleeding money. They are forced to buy back shares to cover their bets, which can trigger a massive upward spike or a short squeeze.
Looking at the flip side,
We really can't ignore why so many institutional traders felt comfortable heavily shorting this in the first place. A 52% drop doesn't just happen randomly.
no, it doesn't. And the glaring target on their back is valuation and profitability. Their gap net margin is negative 123.83%.
Ouch. Yeah, that is rough. And let's clarify that for the listener because the company actually makes a lot of gross profit.
Right, their gross margins are incredible. Selling the software costs almost nothing.
Exactly. But they are making heavy investments in AI infrastructure. And honestly, handing out massive stock-based compensation to employees, that officially drags the bottom line deeply into the red.
Right, and that stock-based compensation is a real issue. I mean, it doesn't drain their cash today, but it directly dilutes the retail investor.
Precisely. Your slice of the pie keeps getting smaller because they keep baking new slices for their engineers.
Which segues into another massive red flag for retail sentiment. Insiders are selling. CEO Dylan Field recently unloaded $4.36 million in stock.
And he's not the only one, right?
No, the chief technology officer, chief financial officer, and chief revenue officer have all systematically trimmed their positions. Now, to be completely impartial, this was all done under prearranged 10b5-1 plans.
Right, those are set up months in advance for tax reasons or basic diversification. They aren't panic selling from their phones.
Exactly. But the optics are still terrible. It creates maybe headwinds for the stock when retail investors are sitting on huge losses
Yeah.
and executives are cashing out millions.
Completely agree. And that lack of confidence just feeds into the bearish AI narrative we touched on earlier.
Ah, seat compression.
Yes, the fear that AI-native tools will automate design tasks so effectively that companies will literally just need fewer human designers.
Right. If a team of 20 shrinks to 5 AI supervisors, you only sell 5 licenses. That volume collapse would devastate recurring revenue.
It's the biggest fear out there. Plus, you have to look at the broader macro sector weakness. Even major competitors like Adobe beat their earnings recently, and the stock still sold off.
Yeah, sentiment is highly fragile right now. Heavy hitters like Cathie Wood have been dumping millions in tech stocks, and when high-profile funds rotate out, it creates indiscriminate selling pressure.
So what should regular investors watch next?
The catalyst calendar over the next 3 months is stacked. First up, Q2 earnings in August.
Right, the market is going to demand proof that they can sustain that 35% plus revenue growth.
Exactly. And they need to prove they can actually monetize these AI credits, not just build cool tools.
But there is also a massive mechanical event in mid-August, the final share lockup expiry.
Oh, right. That is a huge one.
Yeah, for you listening, a lockup expiry basically means early investors and employees will finally be legally allowed to sell their shares.
Which could flood the market with supply.
Exactly. It could cause heavy short-term selling pressure. Though, historically, once that event passes, it clears the overhang for high-growth companies.
Technically speaking, analysts are looking at a potential downside floor around $16, with major resistance at the 200-day moving average of $34.96.
For traders watching the chart, tools like VIP Algos can help make trend directions, support and resistance, and take profit or stop-loss planning areas easier to see. But the tool should be used only as educational chart support, not as a guaranteed trading signal.
To wrap it all up, the story of Figma right now is this crazy battle between a battered stock price and fundamentally booming AI-driven revenue growth.
It really is a tug of war.
Yeah. The strongest bull point is the massive 46% revenue acceleration and that AIC expansion. The biggest immediate risk is the impending mid-August lockup expiry and the insider selling.
Which is a lot to digest.
It is. Leaving us with this thought to explore on your own. If AI eventually makes coding and design frictionless with just a single prompt, does a platform like Figma become an irreplaceable monopoly? Or does the whole concept of a dedicated software design tool eventually become obsolete?
It's a fascinating question to ponder.
And if you want help reading TradingView charts more clearly, you can check out VIP Algos through the link below in the description. VIP Algos shows visual buy and sell chart alerts, trend direction, support and resistance zones, target zones, and take profit and stop loss planning areas. Just remember, it is for educational chart analysis only. It is not financial advice, it does not place trades for you, and it does not guarantee profits. Trading involves risk, so always do your own research and manage your risk carefully. This is an affiliate link, and we may earn a commission at no extra cost to you.
That is the lowdown. Subscribe for more simple market breakdowns and comment below with the next company you want us to simplify.